All right, it's 101. I propose we get started. So first of all, again, thank you, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for You Have the Power, How to Electrify Your Home with New Tax Credits. Today's event is co-hosted by Environment America Research and Policy Center and the U.S. PIRG Education Fund, as well as Environmental Action. My name is Johanna Newman, and I'm the Senior Director of the campaign for 100% renewable energy at Environment America Research and Policy Center. And our mission, which drives everything that we do, is to protect our natural world. We envision a better, greener America, one that protects and restores more places where all life can thrive, and that offers us and our children the opportunity to live healthier, more enriching lives. I am really delighted to MC today's event. Before we get started today, I wanted to put forward a quick accommodation request. Please keep your screen or device fully stable on today's webinar. If you need to adjust or move your screen or your device, even just a little bit to make your face visible, please turn your camera off first. You can then turn your camera back on when you're done making the adjustment to your device. This will save one of our speakers from experiencing dizziness. Thanks so much. So again, I am really excited that you're here today to learn about the new tax credits that came online this month, which are designed to help everyday Americans like you and me invest in clean energy and electrify our homes. In terms of an agenda, next slide, please. After my opening remarks, we are going to hear from our special guest speaker, Gina Copeland-Newfield, who is the Chief of Staff for the Office of Policy at the U.S. Department of Energy. Then I'll come back to myself and give some of the key reasons why now is such a critical moment to be taking steps to electrify our homes. And then my colleague, Lisa Frank, who's the Executive Director of our Washington Legislative Office, will summarize some of the new incentives available under the Inflation Reduction Act. Is it possible to get the next slide? And after that, we'll break into small groups by issue, and then come back together, ideally take one big group photo, and then offer some resources and take political action together before we break. So we have a really terrific group of small group leaders with us today. Many of them are truly experts in their field. So Matt Casal from PIRG and Joel Rosenberg from from Rewiring America will lead the group Where Do I Start? Launching Your Home Electrification Journey. Kaiba White from Public Citizen and Gracie Coates from Environment Texas are going to cover a small group that's all about heat pumps. Environment California's Laura Dehan and Ben Soniga from Energy Sage are going to partner up with Hannah Mitchell from Solar United Neighbors and Pete Parsons from the Texas Solar Energy Society. Next slide, please. And in that small group, they'll answer all your questions about solar and storage. Oop, there you go. And then we'll head out to the garage, and Ingrid Malmgren from Plug-in America and Mackenzie Brown from Environment America will answer all your questions about electric vehicles. And then last but not least, since the first fuel that any of us should be turning to is energy efficiency and conservation, I'll be heading up a small group myself alongside Joe Agan, a policy analyst from the Department of Energy Office of Policy. So we have an all-star cast. I'm really excited and grateful that they are all here joining us today. Now, before I introduce our guest speaker, I do just want to remind everyone that you please keep your screen or your device fully stable so that we can accommodate all of our speakers on today's event. So if you need to adjust your screen or your device, even just a little bit, please turn your camera off, make the adjustment, and then get yourself situated and then turn your camera back on. This is really going to help save one of our speakers from experiencing vertigo and dizziness. Thanks so much. Okay, so with that, I'm thrilled to introduce Gina Copeland-Newfield. Gina is the Chief of Staff at the Department of Energy's Office of Policy. In that role, Gina works to make sure that the executive director of the office, as well as the entire team, is set up for success. She also oversees a number of clean energy projects and policies herself. Prior to her role as the chief of staff, Gina led a number of successful campaigns to protect the environment and public health. And like me, she's an alumna of Green Corps, the Field School of Environmental Organizing, and of Tufts University. So it's really an honor to have you here, Gina. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Really, really great to be here. Thanks for having me. So the Office of Policy advises and supports the Secretary of Energy and the Greater Department of Energy, as well as other agencies, the White House, and Congress on domestic energy policy. So I'm really excited to be here with you today to talk about this topic because this is our bread and butter. So as you probably know, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the CHIPS and Science Act are historic investments passed by Congress and signed by President Biden in just the last 14 months. And together, these three laws are really poised to invest more than $500 billion in clean energy and climate action over the next decade. And this is the biggest climate investment in US history. And this is really a game changer for the climate and for the American people. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all of you when Congress passed and President signed these laws into being, particularly the Inflation Reduction Act. It definitely would not have happened without all of the advocacy and activism from people, including you. People in government need to hear from people in civil society to push them to do the right thing. So thank you for being part of that. The major climate bill out of the three I mentioned, the Inflation Reduction Act, doesn't work, however, if we just sit on our butts. It's really time now for us to implement this bill. As our Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, often says, it's time to deploy, deploy, deploy. And so that means businesses and manufacturers and schools and nonprofits taking advantage of the major clean energy tax credits, rebates, and grants that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And it means all of us, individual people, taking advantage as well. And so in today's webinar, you're going to learn about some exciting tax credits to help you save money, reduce emissions, credits for things at home like solar panels, electric heat pumps, insulation, and credits for those of us who drive for electric vehicles, both new and used. And most of these credits will save you up to 30% off the cost of the products or upgrades, and then you can sit back and enjoy the savings month after month through lower heating, cooling, and transportation costs. And as someone who has rooftop solar and an electric car, and I've had both of these for many years, I can tell you it is true that these kind of investments do save us on our monthly energy costs, and they help us slash emissions. And yes, that's true for EVs, even factoring in the emissions from the electricity used to power them, whether you have solar panels or not. And that becomes even more true over time as we shift to even more clean sources of electricity. So if we deliver all these benefits, this will help not only households who are saving on energy costs, but it's also going to help create prosperity for workers, fueling demand for potentially millions of clean energy jobs right here in America, ideally union jobs, to power this clean energy economy that we're all a part of. All of these tax credits are on the books now. And so you can start making purchases this year, start taking advantage of the savings when you file your taxes next year. And there are even some tax credits as part of the Inflation Reduction Act that took effect last year. So just save your receipts. And that's what's so great about these home and transportation tax credits is that they last until the year 2032. So you can do some of these investments this year, maybe one this year, 3 next year, 2 the next year, and on and on. We are working hard in government to get the word out about the credits so people can learn about them. The Department of Treasury has created some web pages about the EV credits, which are pretty complex, although I'm sure our speakers today are going to help you understand them in the breakout session. Congress designed these credits in a way that's complex, but there are some reasons for that. But if you go to irs.gov/clean vehicles, that will likely help you parse out some of the details. And then at DOE, we created a user-friendly chart to help you understand the home efficiency tax credits, including which you can take advantage of starting last year, like maybe you made the purchase last year, and then which kicked in just a few weeks ago when this year started. And if you go to energy.gov, and then right at the top, you see an image of a house wrapped in a scarf. Just click on that, and that's where you'd find the user-friendly chart that we created. So I'm thrilled to know that this webinar will feature breakout groups with experts from fabulous organizations who will walk you through the process and answer your questions. Thank you for your interest in these new historic tax credits and for us to save energy, money, emissions, and again, keep up your advocacy and pressure on the government to do the right thing because it helps. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gina. Really appreciate you joining us today. So like Gina said, there are so many reasons why it makes sense to make your home a clean energy home right now. And it can lower utility bills, it can improve air quality, it can protect your health, and it can just make your home cozier and more comfortable. But I want to underscore one of the key reasons that we at Environment America Research and Policy Center are so focused on these tax credits right now. And it's the newfound agency that everyone has. The tax credits and rebates are truly the biggest investment our country has ever made in clean energy. While there's other action happening, this is our federal government's plan to address climate change. And the package is designed to reduce global warming pollution 40% below 2005 levels by the year 2030. That's only 7 years from now. That's rapid action. It truly has the potential to put the United States' goals under the Paris Climate Accord within reach. That is incredibly exciting. But the climate benefits aren't guaranteed. This law does not have binding caps on pollution. It does not set up a national standard for clean energy. But what it does do is it gives millions of Americans like you and me and Gina a leg up when it comes to going solar, electrifying your home, or purchasing an electric vehicle. And the law's ultimate success, its effectiveness in driving down emissions and improving air quality, hinge on everyday American consumers, community organizations, and businesses, everybody here in today's meeting and beyond, hearing about and seizing the opportunity that these incentives and rebates offer. The effectiveness of the policy is up to us. We have the power. And if we act, we will spur absolutely historic adoptions of clean energy solutions, right? We know that clean energy adoption can be contagious. The neighborhood effect of rooftop solar spreading throughout a community is already well documented. And likewise, when more of us purchase electric vehicles or install a heat pump, our lived experience can help potential adopters get the information and the confidence that they need. So because it's up to us, I am just so glad that you are here today to learn more about the technologies, more about the tax credits, so that they become more affordable for you to adopt. And I hope that you'll take what you learned today and share it with your family and your friends so that collectively as a nation, we can realize the promise of these historic tax credits to build a healthier and greener future. So with that, I'd love to introduce my colleague, Lisa Frank, the Executive Director of Environment America Research and Policy Center's Washington Legislative Office, who is going to break down some of the key tax credits. And after that, we'll go into small groups.
Okay, thank you very much. Very glad to join you. I am going to walk through what are these tax credits, and then as Johanna said, we'll share more detail in the groups. So As we've heard from Gina, from Johanna, the programs only help us move to clean energy if we use them. So here's how to get started. Let's start at the top of our house with the roof. If you want to go solar, you can now get 30% of the cost of installing those rooftop solar panels covered. There's no cap. The same is now true for battery storage. So you can save that clean solar energy for a cloudy day. And solar powered water heaters are also eligible for a 30% tax credit. Electric heat pumps and heat pump water heaters keep your home warm or cool. They work as AC too, much more efficiently than other heating and cooling systems. And you can now get a tax credit for 30% of the cost of a heat pump or a heat pump water heater, up to a maximum value of $2,000 in a year. So you may want to do a heat pump 1 year, the water heater the next year. You can get a 30% tax credit as well for many appliance and energy efficiency upgrades, up to a maximum of $600 per year. This includes efficient AC and heating, water heating, upgrading your electrical panel, or replacing windows. If you're trying to figure out where to start, an energy audit is a great option, and that's also covered up to 30% or a maximum tax credit of $150. And I'll note some cities also offer free or reduced price energy audits to help you get going. These clean energy home credits are not income limited, but since some have annual caps, I suggest making a plan. So maybe this year you do an energy audit, some basic efficiency projects, and go solar. Next year, you use your utility bill savings from now having a more efficient solar powered house to replace your heat pump with that 30% or $2,000 credit, and so on. Then moving to the garage. For electric vehicles, there are income limits and price restrictions on the total cost of cars that are eligible, and manufacturing requirements that can impact which cars are covered. But if you're purchasing a covered eligible used electric vehicle, you can get a 30% credit or up to $4,000, whichever is less. And for new electric vehicles that are eligible for the credits, you can get up to $7,500. I suggest joining the electric vehicle breakout group if you want to learn more about these programs. And I'll note that many of these restrictions do not apply to leased vehicles. So if you want an electric vehicle, but find out you don't qualify for the tax credits, you might want to consider leasing. One quick disclaimer, I am not an accountant, so I recommend also consulting your tax advisor and looking at specifics in your market and your own state to determine eligibility for these programs. And of course, we'll share more resources on all of the tax credits and how to think about taking advantage of them during the breakout sessions.